Hey, gang. Welcome to another episode of Try Not to Curse. This one's really exciting. This is the first guest that I've ever had on the show that I do not personally know. I am here with Erin. She and I were connected through my friend Jessica, as you guys know, Ben's wife, because Erin is a Disney shopper. You have heard of them on the socials, you've seen their posts. It's a real live Disney shopper. Like I said, Jessica got me in touch with her because there was something that I was looking for at one of the parks that I was not able to bring home with me at the time. And sadly, it's not something that's available to order online. So I reached out to Erin, and literally within 24 hours, you guys, she had the item I needed on hand. So I thought it would be really cool to sit down and chat with her about her experience as a Disney shopper, because I think it's an extremely unique job or hobby. We'll decide what she wants to call it. And we're also going to find out, what led her to doing this and all of the things in between. So Erin, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'll tell you. So you're now, are you on just Facebook, or are you also on like Instagram, TikTok, that kind of thing?
I'm on Facebook and Instagram, but I don't utilize my Instagram a whole lot. I keep thinking I need to be better about that. I need to
I'm
get
the
the
same way.
younger kids, I guess. But
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. But so I see your posts. I mean, it is pretty much daily that you post, different albums and, oh, this is the new collection from this park and that park. So it's awesome to see because if you don't if you're not going to the park no, that's okay. I've got two cats too. I understand. If you don't go to a park regularly and they do have park exclusives for the park, you're not going to see these things unless
right.
we're checking your site. So it's a really cool service. And again, if you're a huge fan of Disney, it's an amazing resource to have. You can get your Christmas shopping done all year round. It's pretty awesome. But again, let's talk about what led you there. Now, on your Facebook page, you do have kind of like not like a frequently asked section, but question section. But you do get a couple questions here and there from your followers. So you kind of just put out a little list about yourself. So you're from Texas originally, right?
I am. I'm from Texas. I was born and raised in Texas, primarily in the Austin area. Born in Brenham, where they make Bluebell ice cream. People
Oh, awesome.
that, but moved shortly to the Austin, to Austin proper, and then when I think I was in kindergarten, moved to Buda, which at that point was a little town south of Austin, and it is now absolutely a suburb.
Oh, wow. What did you do out there?
My husband and I owned and operated a riding stable, so a horseback riding stable. And yeah, I'd always been involved in horses. Did not run in my family. It was not. I was the only equestrian in my family. My parents loved it. Trust me. One of the expensive sports. As a kid, it was a dream to have my own riding stable. I never really thought that would happen. I actually ended up being a single parent for pretty young. So, life changes there for sure.
Yeah.
Did some college, got very comfortable being a single parent, kind of segue, did the whole dating thing. And I was like, you know what, I'm good. I can be single. And then I had a regular person job, working for a school district. I'd been an education major, so I was headed in that direction. And then, I just felt like I got to the point where I felt like there was something missing. I was happy, but there was something missing. And I had kept in touch with my riding instructor. And she said, well, duh, Erin, it's horses, you're not riding. And I couldn't afford to have my own horse or anything at that juncture. But she said, I heard there's a riding stable under new ownership, and they might let you go out there and exercise horses. And they absolutely did. It actually ended up turning into a full-time job. So I quit my professional, job with benefits and regular hours to jump ship and work at a riding stable. My mom was thrilled about that.
Oh, it's always nice when you can turn your passion into your professional career.
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of juggled regular job and teaching lessons and a young child. And the barn that I was working at, my now husband is actually the barn manager. So we kind of met. It was a funny situation because he also skied. He was a sponsored no skier. He was from Tennessee. So he'd go to Colorado and Utah and ski. And our schedules just kept not lining up. So I would hear from people all the time, lesson clients or another trainer out at the barn or barn help, well, have you met Johnny? Have you met Johnny? Like, no, gosh, who is this Johnny? And I always kid. It was hit or miss. Either people loved him or they're like, meh, but have you met Johnny? And we literally met in passing. I'll kind of age myself because we always laughed that he carried a lamp, like in Dirty Dancing. I carried a watermelon.
Oh, okay. Yep.
We all laugh about that. So we met and the rest is history. And we've been married for, oh gosh, coming on 18 years, I guess now.
Oh, that's great.
That's, we say it's really difficult to have a long lasting relationship if you're involved with horses, if the other person not, because they're so all encompassing and expensive. So it worked out for us and we ended up going out on our own and starting our own business, and then ended up buying property, and we had our riding stable that we owned in Buda for 16 years. So,
and so what brought you to Florida?
We were ready for a change. I said at the time that I didn't feel like I was burned out. I'd been teaching about 60 clients, lesson clients in the hunter jumper business for years. I coached some equestrian teams. I didn't feel like I was burned out, but in hindsight, as soon as I was out of the situation, it was like, oh yes, I was
sure
pretty over it. My husband works in the landscape industry, so he could go wherever. It was more kind of an evergreen state. I grew up going to Disney World. I grew up traveling to Florida. We have family in South Florida. So it was just, it sounded good to me. It was the only other place I would want to go. I never really thought I'd leave Texas. But yeah, Disney was huge.
Yeah.
But I really want to live in Orlando proper. We do still have horses. We still own 9 horses. So we needed property with where we could have horses. My husband, when he was interviewing for jobs, he was interviewing closer to Orlando, and then he was starting to go further afield. And he was actually interviewing in Gainesville, which is about 30 minutes north of our current location. And he was on the phone with me, or he called me when he was driving from Orlando to Gainesville. And he said, I am driving into Ocala, and this is where we're moving. This is what we're going to do. This is where we need to be. It's, you still have the palm trees, but you have some rolling hills. You have the pine forest. It's beautiful, and it's horse country. So,
okay. That's awesome.
We moved here, and we ended up buying a place with 10 acres. We have a house that's much too big for us. So we actually do Airbnb at the guest side of it,
cool.
Which is, everybody says you moved to Florida and everybody wants to visit. And that is absolutely the case.
Wow.
But yes, being in horse country, we moved right at the very tail end of the pandemic. So we moved in July of 21, and the World Equestrian Center in Ocala had opened, but they were getting ready for their first official show season post-pandemic. So we moved in right as the madness was starting to happen here, because it has grown pretty exponentially. So it's fun. We have lots of people that come and stay for horse shows, the Airbnb. We've gotten to continue to do the horse thing, but again, meet tons of people, meet some of my sport, horse heroes.
Cool.
The hunter jumpers, like what you see kind of in the Olympics. But my husband team ropes. His big ask, it wasn't an ask, it was a demand. We can move to Florida if I can put in a professional roping pin on our property. And I said, okay, yeah, whatever.
That's really cool.
First and foremost. So we host some ropings out here. He hosts some roping practices. He does a lot of the social media too for the roping stuff. So he really kind of upped the roping side of the sport out here when we moved in. So he's getting to do his thing not as a professional. He has a regular job, but yeah. He doesn't want to be a cowboy.
Would you mind sharing his social so people can see what he's all about and learn about the roping? Because I just think that's really neat.
Sure. It's our place it's High Stakes Arena. So you can just look up High Stakes Arena, and he teams up with he has some sponsors for different horse products. We have any horse people out there?
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Um,
my best friend's daughter actually breaks horses for a
okay.
barn by her. Yeah, so I totally understand what you're talking about, the equestrian lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's hard to socialize when you're at the barn all day, and to, like you
Mhm.
said, to meet non-horse people. It's really, she's
Right.
been struggling with that a lot. She's in her 20s, so she's that's been something that's been ongoing, but she just can't leave the barn. She can't. She
Yeah.
loves it. She loves it.
Well, if
So.
she can ever get away and she wants to visit Ocala and the horse capital, we have space. So
Okay. I'll keep that in mind for sure. That's fantastic. Now, so you're out in Florida, you've got the horse stuff going on. Like you said, your husband is in the landscaping business. At what point did you say, you know what? I might want to be a Disney shopper. I might want to hop around the parks and be a personal shopper for people online. Where did that all come from?
I had actually utilized personal shoppers in the past, for those items. I'm actually a huge Enchanted Tiki Room fan. So
Yes.
all Tiki Room product items were coming out and they were not on Shop Disney. You couldn't find them anywhere. I was like, oh, wait, who are these people that go and shop? Yeah, so I utilized a couple of shoppers here and there. So I knew that was a thing. I think it's much more a thing now, but it was starting out then. And I actually told my clients, my lesson clients, as we were closing down the business, and like, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'm going to teach a little bit, but I think I'm going to try this personal shopper thing. And it was absolutely just to fund my Disney addiction. It was to hopefully, fingers crossed, pay for my annual pass, pay for the gas to get down there, because it's about an hour and a half, the 3-hour round trip to get down to Disney property. So I was like, and if I have extra to pay for my food here and there, that'd be fun too. But that was the goal, just to kind of fund my Disney thing, that we could go and have Disney date day with my husband. And it just exploded. That's what happened.
So
And
if anybody, I mean, because I have a couple friends down in Florida. I have friends that are absolutely Disney obsessed. I can't tell you how many people I know that they spent their honeymoon in the parks. For someone who might want to get started in something like that, how does one get into this?
I was extremely lucky because, we moved in July 2021. The annual passes weren't available. They weren't for sale at that point.
Right.
I think they became available in maybe August, September, maybe late August, early September. We got our annual passes. I started doing a little bit of shopping. And then in October, it was Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary. And everybody had to have the 50th merchandise.
Yeah.
So that I had one person that ordered some items, sent them off to her. And I was excited at that point to have, 5 boxes go out, and I was like, yeah, I had 15 one week, and I was really excited. But I had one person that was very active on social media. She just kind of posted on all kinds of Disney fan pages, and she just did a quick little review here, message this person. And I mean, in the first hour that she posted, I probably had 50, 60 people contact me. So that,
oh, wow.
And it just became word of mouth. I do every now and then. I'm a sponsored, I don't know, person on some Facebook pages. So I pay for that. It does seem to help. I've done some face ads here and there, but it's really just kind of word of mouth. I think there's 2 of us now. I run into people sometimes that are clearly shoppers. Generally they're pretty. There are some that aren't. Like all. I think having kind of each market would be really great for somebody that wanted to start out. I don't shop the character warehouses, which are the discount Disney overstock or out of season items. They have stores at some of the outlet malls. I don't shop those. It's just another thing for me when I only go down once a week.
Sure.
It's time consuming.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
But somebody that wanted to do, or I know your item was a Star Wars item. I know that there are people that specialize in Star Wars shopping. So, I think there's people specialize in just picking up treats or putting together gift boxes. So I think kind of finding your in there if you're starting out is probably a great idea. I don't know. I just got lucky.
Yeah, I will say that was a real surprise for me when I started, after messaging you and then following you and seeing your regular posts, seeing that you did have, you're like, oh, these are all of the holiday treats that are now. I was like, wow, she's even shipping, like the marshmallow Mickeys and all these. I was like, that's really wild. That's so cool. But there, like you said, there is a demand. I mean, my case was pretty unique. We went to Hollywood Studios for the first time. I had a broken ankle and I was on a scooter going through a scooter in Disney. I've talked about this on the pod before, is not a good time. And then, having something like it was a helmet from Star Wars, a bulky helmet to carry around and then take back on the flight. I was like, I really don't know if I want to do that. And I have family down there who go to the park regularly. So it was just one of those, oh yeah, the next time you're there, if you could grab it for me, whatever. Well, my cousin happened to go on a day that it rained. So they actually closed that stand where the helmet was. So she couldn't get it for me. My best friend and his family were going down there and I kind of casually mentioned it, but I said, yeah, but you're bringing the 3 kids. I don't want you to have to lug this helmet around. And that's how I was introduced to you. And again, within 24 hours, you just happened to be going to that park that particular week. It all just kind of worked out really nicely and you had it in hand. And I did find it's not available on Shop Disney, but Walmart has a version of the helmet, but it was $20 more than the park was selling it for. And even with your shipping, which by the way, you guys, Erin packages the items better than Disney themselves do. Cause I did have stuff shipped up from Disney from our last trip. The packaging is so much better. My item was very well protected. And even with all of that, it was still cheaper than if I had purchased the knockoff version through Walmart. So I just can't say enough about your service, only having used you one time, but I do appreciate you for sure. Well, and again, I go to Comic-Con, as I talk about on the pod all the time too. And the same thing, there was a vendor that sells like specialty replica things like that. They had the same helmet. It was $300. So, yeah, right. So, if you're shopping around and you got a price comparison and again, having having you as a resource out there is just so fantastic. And I was able to get my helmet. So I appreciate you.
I think the most exciting thing about this whole experience has really been, as you know, trying to grow your community for your podcast. Growing that community. I have people that I meet in the parks that I've just met that I have people that have sent me little gifts just to be like, hey, I was thinking about you and thanks so much. But,
yeah,
I think I almost learned too much about people's, and then it stressed out. I'm like, oh my gosh, this person's really have a hard time. I'll tell my husband, I'm like, oh my gosh, one of my shopper friends, they're dealing with this and I feel so bad about it. What can I do? But I didn't expect it at all. And it's been, people will message me all the time. Hey, I'm going to be at Disney on these dates. I'd love to meet up. And sometimes I can, sometimes I'm like, I have to hit all 4 parks and Disney Springs. So I don't have time.
That's really nice though.
But I really, really value that. And in the case of your item, I got lucky that day because you never know with stock. That's one of the difficult things with shopping is it's, we talked about other social media outlets, TikTok. I always roll my eyes because I roll on TikTok and I'm like, not going to be able to get that item. And I have 30 people messaging me for it, but it's sold out. So you never know. And as for people that are interested in becoming shoppers, it's just the shopping part is generally a lot of fun. I do. And I'm lucky I shop with my mom. My mom moved to Florida almost a year after we did. She said she was going to wait 2 years. She lasted about 9 months. So she shops with me almost every trip. So that's awesome. I'm very lucky to have my mom, spend that kind of time with her. But so the shopping's fun. Now when it's crazy crowded, it's been holiday season, it's been crazy crowded. There is no downtime for Disney. We say that we think lots of people that, homeschooled through the pandemic have continued to, because we see tons of people with kids any time of the year. And I also think that schools are more lenient. They know that people can teach outside of anyway. That's a whole other can of worms. But it's not as fun when it's packed. You're trying to just be like head down, right. Get the work and get from place to place. Sometimes it's a scavenger hunt. I think an item is at one location, but I end up going to 3 parks and I can finally find it at a random resort gift shop, But the processing. I tend to tell people for every hour of shopping, and I usually do kind of 8 to 9 hours that we're in the parks on a shopping day, it's about 3 hours of processing time. So
Yeah.
invoice, packaging, and then, making sure I get payment come through, and then taking stuff to the post office. So it's a lot. And I think some people, I'll see new people pop up saying, "Hey, I'm shopping." And a lot of them don't stick around too long. It's not just, and it's a large expenditure of money that you hope you get back from people.
Right. Well, so, and it's a lot to keep track of in general. I mean, like you said, and everyone knows, Disney puts out things seasonally. They put things out if they have a particular celebration or a new film that is out. So when I scroll on your page, I could see something that I might be interested in, but it's like I have to check the dates because it's like, oh, I guarantee they don't have it anymore,
right?
Because that either that season has passed or it's been so long that it's probably sold out. They've moved on to other inventory. How do you keep track of things like that? Because like you said, if you're only there maybe once or twice per week, how do you keep it all straight that this is at this park and this is at I mean, it's a lot to manage because you're also constantly posting pictures of, hey, this just got released at this park. Here's this collection. I mean, everything from jewelry to the new Starbucks tumblers to mugs to sweatshirts to just the seasonal treats like you've posted. That's got to be a lot for you to try. I mean, do you have a running list or do you just go by your own photos that you're taking? How do you keep track?
Most of the items we see a lot, so you kind of go, okay, I know that I've posted that before. I know that I haven't posted that. So it's kind of it's in my brain to some degree. I guess. You have to, I know this week I've been updating albums because I'll do a kind of a featured post with new things. I try to kind of have a theme. This week there was a lot of Stitch items. We're brand new to those. We have a Festival of the Arts starts tomorrow, so I've been posting some of that. But I'll forget did I put this item in an album? So then I have to go back and look at my albums, and then I feel bad because I'm like spamming people because I'm updating albums. And Disney is very funny with their stock. I mean, you'll have things, it'll be sold out, it'll be popular, sold out, gone. And I'm like, nope, take that off this list. I couldn't get it. And then 2 months later, it shows up again, and you're like, what in the world? So definitely going through my albums and editing them can be a challenge.
Sure.
My mom and I are always very excited when there's new products. I mean, we're those people that are like, oh my gosh, how exciting. Look, we haven't seen this before. This is so cute, and then I'm trying to post we were as excited as we are for the holidays, for Halloween. Halloween, I feel like is the longest. It's like the longest season. It's longer than Christmas, I swear.
I know, I would agree with that for sure. Cause they set up fairly early for Halloween. Yeah.
We're seeing stuff in June, July, and then it goes right up until, Thanksgiving. And then, Christmas comes in kind of at the end of October, but we're like, we love all the new merchandise. Like, okay, we've seen all the Halloween. Okay, we've seen all the Christmas. I had a little bit of a break during the holidays. But then going back, it's right back to it. You're like, oh my gosh, look at all this new amazing stuff. I mean, Disney is truly a merchandising machine. It's pretty remarkable, So yeah, I try to keep track of it. So I'm thrilled if it seems like I do. And as far as what's in stock, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of hit or miss. I do the best that I can when I call all my shoppers friends. So when I have friends message me to request items, I usually always try to say, I'm going to do my best. I'll certainly try to get it for you. I don't take payment up front. I don't do a deposit or anything. I don't invoice until I have the items in hand, and I can send a picture of the invoice with the item. Because I know that there are a lot of scammers out there. I hear from people all the time that they tried to purchase an item. And so I recognize that. And as a consumer, I recognize that's an issue. So I try to make people as comfortable as possible. But when I get a request, I'm very old school. I literally have index cards, and I call it a wish list for everybody. So I just have, the friend's name at the top and the list of the items they're looking for. And I keep those cards in my little my little index card box until I find the item, or I communicate and say, I don't think these are coming back. I'm just not getting them. Or that person says, I already got it, or I don't want it. So literally every shopping trip, I'm looking for any item. I mean, I've had items that have been on people's folks list for months and months and months. And oftentimes they come back. I had a friend who had purchased some items, and she messaged me and said, we were in the parks a couple of months ago, and my son loves all of the dino. He loves Dino Land over at Animal Kingdom, and he's on the spectrum. He's dinosaurs are his thing. He loves all that. And apparently there was a set of Chip and Dale plush, but in the Dino Land costumes.
Oh,
and so
okay.
wanted those, and they couldn't find them. They were gone. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to look. I know exactly which ones you're talking about, but they have been out of stock, and I don't know if they're coming back because Dino Land is apparently going to go away eventually. But I kept them on my list. And I mean, it had to have been 6 months or more. And I finally found them right before Christmas. They came back.
That's so cool.
For Christmas. So he was able to have that as a Christmas surprise. So, things do come back, and it's exciting when I get to make special things like that happen.
Well, you touched on it briefly. What happens if you're picking up an item for someone and then they turn around and they say, you know what, I changed my mind, I don't want it anymore, or it was the time had passed, it was for so and so's birthday and it didn't come back in time. What do you do in those situations?
Right. Fortunately, it doesn't happen a whole lot. So it happened more frequently when I was starting out, and it stressed me out a whole lot.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Just because, financially you're like, and I really don't like to return items. One, because it's just time consuming. Disney they say they kind of frown upon personal shoppers. I think they frown more upon like eBayers that are really bumping up the prices and stuff. I don't use my annual pass discount. We're also DVC. I don't use my DVC discount when I'm shopping for others. So I'm not officially breaking any Disney rules. You're not supposed to use your discount for others.
Sure.
But still, I don't want to be returning items every week and get on some Disney radar that hate that person, So I try really hard not to return items. So fortunately, I don't have it happen very often. And when it does, I can generally try to sell the items on. I can post them, or maybe it's an item I like and I go ahead and keep it, or use them as gifts, for family members. I tend to, if I have items that have been sitting on a list and I just don't think they're going to come back, I'm touching base with those people just to make sure. And you're right, with regards to the holidays, especially, there were items that were going to be gift items. And so I have been touching base with those people, sorry, we never found it. Do you want me to keep it on your list, even though the holidays are over? So it's been much less of an issue. I know you follow all of it. So you've probably seen my posts here and there. I'm like, okay, guys, come on now. Don't, like everybody, it's easy to sometimes forget all of the positive things when you have 3 not so positive things happen in 1 week,
right.
How it works. I won't have anybody back out or ghost me for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then all of a sudden in a single week, I'll have 3 or 4 people that just, I don't hear anything from, or they're like, oh, nope, sorry, I got it somewhere else, or what have you, or a friend was there and they picked it up. And then I just get frustrated and I'm like, oh, this is a real bummer. I'm like, okay, 3 out of 80 people is not that big of a deal.
Right.
So fortunately, I'm very lucky to have people that really think what I do is of value and are happy to use my services and have kind of a personalized touch, as opposed to, so they don't ghost me. They do. I have people that tip me sometimes, which I never expect any of that. And sometimes when I'm going and making sure I receive payment, I'll be like, wait, who was this? Because I've had a decent amount. I'm like, what? I'll message them and be like, you paid me way too much, So that means a lot. I certainly don't expect it, but it's
sure,
nice.
Sure.
So.
So what does a typical shopping day look like for you when you're gearing up? Do you bring a wagon with you for all the things you're hoping to pick up? I mean, you said you bring your index cards with you. Is there an order? Like, do you start it at this park and then just move on to the next? How does it work for you?
So all week long, I'm kind of creating my lists, with my index cards, and I have a master list that is on my phone. So I do have a list of items, and they're usually by park. If there are specific items in an individual park, I'll have that listed. So I try not to forget. And then I have kind of my longest section is usually my miscellaneous list. Right now I have a Starbucks list going because good old Starbucks is releasing all the tumblers, and I roll my eyes at that too because they're hot items. Sometimes, if they only have them at the Magic Kingdom Starbucks location, which is the largest Starbucks location in the world, I believe. I think it still is.
Is that right? Oh, wow.
I'm pretty sure it still is. Somebody might correct me on that, but it's definitely one of the most crowded Starbucks locations. So I don't love when I have to get items there, but I know those items are collectibles. People love them. So I have my list. I work on that. And I usually get up about 6:30 or 7 here, Eastern Standard, go out and feed the horses, get ready to go. I usually meet my mom. I pick her up at the Lowe's right off I-75 park. So we're usually shooting for about 9 or 10 o'clock, sometimes earlier. Let's see, the rules just changed, day before yesterday, I guess, on the 9th, that we can park hop before 2 p.m.
Oh,
so
cool.
That's kind of a game changer for me because we couldn't park hop before 2. So I think it'll be good. I'm a little stressed by it because we've gotten into a routine of I go to whatever park I feel like I need the most items at. So if I look at my list and I have, take tomorrow, for example, is the opening of the festival at Epcot. So I have quite a few things I need to get that I can only get there. So Epcot would be my first park of the day. But maybe I would get everything that I needed by, I don't know, 11:30 or 12. So then I might have time to go on an attraction or, enjoy the park.
Yeah.
But oftentimes our routine was to go ahead and head over to Disney Springs, and I'd get whatever shopping I needed to get done at World of Disney or the Christmas store over there or the Star Wars store over there or the pen shop, and maybe have lunch somewhere. And then at 2 p.m. we could hop. And then it was always a race to fit in maybe 3 additional parks from 2 p.m. till when I need to head home. So sometimes I would still, 10 or 11, and it is what it is. But yeah, no, I don't get a wagon or anything. We can't have them in the parks. I know you can have them at Disney Springs. I see people with them. I see shoppers with them loaded down. Like I say, I try to fly under the radar.
Sure. Yeah.
And also because I try to make it a point when there are very popular items. The 50th was a big one, certain items for the 50th. TikTok items. I try not to be that person that goes in and, oh, look here, they're on the shelf and literally takes 12 of them.
Right.
My mom and I, we, right after the parks reopened after COVID, the rule was 2 items per person per transaction. And we really try to stick with that still. Now I might buy 2 items in one location and buy 2 of the same thing in another location, but I never clear out whatever was available. Because I really want those items to be there for guests. I mean, people are there on vacation. I want them to be able to get their items. So that sometimes though means that my shopping day is much longer because I'm going from place to place trying to fulfill those orders. So yeah, I again, with the people in the wagons, you'll see, how did you get those? And how are you buying those? I know that there's a limit. I don't know. I try to follow follower, generally speaking. So yeah, no, I've posted some pictures where my mom and I'll do photo pass or something. And of course the cast members say, oh, here, you can put your bags down. And we'll say, no, actually it's our thing. Is it okay if we hang on to our bags? Because this is what we look like every day through parks, with 4 of the large bags full of things on arm. And I keep telling my husband, I wonder if I'm going to have nerve damage on my right arm, especially from all the bags I've carried up and down. I'm going to have lasting, physical trauma from carrying bags. It can be quite a workout sometimes.
Oh, for sure.
Tomorrow I'll go back and forth to the car a couple of times at Epcot. or especially if I have to work, I do have to walk around World Showcase tomorrow. So no, I'm not going to carry 8 bags around. I'm going to go
Sure.
use the lockers. You can, I'll pretty happily pay $10, $12 for a locker to not have to carry the bags around if I don't want to go back out to the parking lot. But yeah, usually we're just manually everything. We had one pretty funny incident last year when I was treat shopping before Christmas. I had to get a lot of treats from, we always don't know how to say it, caramel cushion, the caramel store, the Werther store, and at Epcot. And I mean, I had bags full. I probably pounds of treats. It was ridiculous. I mean, the cast members were like, literally said, "Do you need help carrying this out?" And I said, "Really? Like, I mean, to the parking lot. I mean, y'all in the parking lot." And they're, "Yeah, sure." I was like, no, I'm not going to make you do that. But and I actually met my mom at the friendship boats to go across. I thought that maybe saved me some steps to take the boat to the entrance. And we get on the friendship boat, the captain, and is like, "Well, ladies and gentlemen," I guess I'm going to say, friends, I guess. If we have any kind of issue and get stuck out in the middle of the water, it looks like we're going to be in good shape because this lady, she's going to keep us well fed. And I was like, yeah, I got to. In that instance with these tons of treats. But yeah,
funny.
Everything. And it's a lot. We tend to walk, I think we average around 7 to 9 miles a trip walking.
Wow.
So my mom always keeps track of that, and bless her heart, she has plantar fasciitis. She deals with that. So.
Oh my goodness, what a trooper.
Yeah, she keeps going. And I do tease her though that she's going to still shop with me one day, even if she has to be in a wheelchair or an ECV, because by gosh, then I can put everything on the
there you go.
But yeah, no, it's a lot of walking and a lot of toting and kind of long days, but
what's one of the hardest items to shop, or is it the pins, just because there are just hundreds and hundreds of pins for each park? And I mean, I think when I communicated with you, I sent you a picture of the specific helmet I was looking for. I didn't just give you the name and say, "Oh, go figure it out." So I would hope people are doing that with you. But has there been any particular item where you were just like, "I have no idea what this person is talking about. I have no idea where I would get this from." Like they just randomly saw it somewhere and said, "Hey, go get this for me."
Right. Usually people, generally speaking, I can shop from a description. I'm usually familiar enough with what is there and what's not there. I've had where people will send me a description and a picture, and it's something that I'm like, this is not at the parks. It has never been at the parks, not since I've been shopping, and they'll tell me, "Oh, well, 7 years ago I got it." I'm like, okay, well, that's not recently I have a friend in Australia who shops with me, and she collects the ornaments, the attraction and park building ornaments. And so she sent me the Emporium on Main Street, an ornament. And I said, I haven't seen that since I've been shopping, and I collect those ornaments too. So I keep a lookout for them. I said, it honestly looks like that's somebody's personal tree, and it doesn't look like anything. I don't think it's available, And I said,
yeah.
On a tree that was at Disney World with ornaments that aren't for sale. So, that's kind of difficult sometimes when people are sure that the item will be there because they saw it 3 years ago or 4 years ago, or they'll tell me, "I saw this item 7 months ago at this particular store on the left-hand side." I'm like, okay, that would be, I cannot believe you remember that, first off, but they reset these stores all the time. So
yeah, well, yeah. And I think that's the tricky thing. If you're not a regular, my family only recently started going fairly regularly. We go like maybe once a year because we have family down there, but we never went growing up. My first time ever at the parks was, well, that's not true. Apparently I was down there when I was 3 years old, but I have no recollection. But my first time was when I was 30 years old. So, for people, like you said, if they went when they were 5 and they saw this one particular toy and now they're 25, it's like, yeah. you're out of luck. Sorry. Check eBay for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is sometimes difficult because, of course, I would love to be able to find the item for people, but sometimes they're just not there. Like I say, sometimes I get lucky, but the pins I don't keep track of. You asked about that before. there was a time when I would take pictures of all the, no,
Oh my gosh.
so I found that, yeah, I'll take some pictures of pins, like right now I have some Figment pins up that I shared. There were holiday pins, but, generally those pin collectors, they know exactly what they want. So they'll send me a picture that they found that somebody else posted. I get a lot of that. And when I wasn't shopping for a couple of weeks during the holidays, right after the holidays, I had multiple people that were like, "Hey, have you seen this? Is it available yet?" I was like, "I haven't seen any of that, but it looks like it's going to be available." So yeah. I know I have other people that follow social media very closely and belong. I mean, there are so many groups, right? So, so many different influencers. I have a lot of people that follow some of the Disney, cosplay or all of the different aspects, and they'll send me pictures. That's pretty cool. So that's great. But usually I can work off a description. I was trying to think. Apparel is really hard at Disney because the sizing is all over the board. You just don't know. And lately they've been really into the cropped shirts. Okay. Some are clearly very short and some are more just average, but I think we got used to longer shirts, sweatshirts too. So kind of just what used to be a regular old cut now it might seem short to people, but and then you have spirit jerseys and just it's the sizing is insane at Disney. So that's really difficult for me. And all people are like, well, can you hold this up to this? And can you what is your opinion? I'm kind of like, well,
yeah.
My mom and I can now, since we've seen so much of the attire and we've seen how much it can fluctuate, I can be like, that this person needed a 2X and this is not a 2X, it's but it looks more like a large. And so usually I can try to, at this point, gauge whether it runs small or large, but that can be difficult too, because I don't
and they
know.
also have some things that are only available in kid sizes. Like I know the last time we were there, my aunt was going to get a specific shirt for my cousin and she realized they only make it in children's sizes. That's just how it was. So that can kind of be a bummer if somebody just sees something in passing and is like, oh, hey, you can get that for me in an extra large. It's like, well, actually, sorry,
Yep. And some of the kid stuff is really fun. There have been a lot of things.
Yeah.
Why do you not have that in adult sizes? The adults would appreciate it much more.
Right. Yeah.
And they don't, my experience with the youth sizes for Disney is, a youth extra large, it is not going to work as an adult small or even extra small. I mean, you can sometimes get away with it, but I had somebody asking me actually yesterday about a spirit jersey. If I had a youth, I think a youth extra large, and they're like, well, I mean, I want it for myself though. And I need an adult small. So that'll work. Right. Absolutely not. And I held it up to jersey that I had and said, absolutely not. So yeah, apparel is hard. Large items are hard. There are some things that I can do the best packaging that I can possibly do.
And you do. It's great. I'm telling you.
Thank you. But at the end of the day, if something, once I hand it off to the post office, I can't about it. So there are items like a big one that people ask for all the time, the Spaceship Earth cookie jar. There is a cookie jar that Earth. I have one personally, and my experience just transporting that thing from Epcot to my personal home. I mean, I was anxious about it and I was handling it the whole time.
Right.
I don't feel comfortable doing that because the hassle of having to refund people and try to replace it's just not worth it to me for those items that are, one, pretty heavy, two, very fragile. I've also had issues with frames. They have, I call them figural frames. They have the frames with the Fab Five characters or whatever kind of resin frames. And they're pretty detailed, and those don't ship great either. So, there are certain items that used to I would try to do, and I've kind of learned now. I will pick them up, but I have people kind of sign off and go, hey, here are pictures. I'm sending you pictures of how I packaged it. The process through, I did my due diligence and I'm willing to ship it to you, but you have to be willing, if it's damaged through no fault of my own, I'll do it. I don't do that very frequently though. And I knock on wood, I've had really good luck with things getting where they need to be and it being in good shape. I think I've only had one popcorn bucket that was damaged. So that's great.
Well, let me ask you, I mean, why do you think Disney does that where they don't make everything available online? Is it just they have a very limited stock of things, or because they're constantly changing over inventory so often that it's just easier for them to keep certain things restricted to just the parks? Because for me, I'm thinking, now it's 2024. You can find virtually anything on the internet. You just do a quick Google search and you'll find somebody that's got it or is selling it or knows about it. So why do you think Disney is still limiting themselves in that way?
That's a great question. I think probably because there is too much. I think I've learned, I have my responses from friends are much better when I don't post 30 to 40 items. When I make posts and it has 10 to 12 items, I get a lot more. There's a lot more interest. So I think, when people are they have the opportunity to scroll through so many things and search so many things, it's a little overwhelming and they don't do it. I don't know if that's part of it. I think Disney's pretty good at trying to figure out what people are going to like, what's going to be a heavy hitter. Gotten smart because you can get more of the Epcot merchandise on Shop Disney. You can get more of the Figment merchandise. He's huge. Orange Bird, he's huge too. Used to, you couldn't get those things. You can. I think that they used to not have very much park, quote unquote, specific items on Shop Disney. And at the end of the day, they want people to go to the parks and shop. Right. So I think always going to have things that are park specific, but they realize that there is a need to have at least some of it on Shop. It's probably only in like the last 6 to 8 months, I don't go on Shop Disney very much. It would make me crazy. All week long, I'd be checking Shop Disney, especially like on the day before a shopping day for me. I'd be checking Shop Disney and be like, oh my gosh, they just posted these items that I have people really wanting me to pick up for them. So then I'd be out that I was going to pick up these items and these people would have gotten it off Shop Disney, but they wouldn't have told me. And I don't really worry about that much anymore. Just, I think there have been enough people not to badmouth Shop Disney because I know people have good experiences, but I've heard quite a few horror stories of things being damaged, a breakable item, just tossed in a box with no wrapping and it gets to them, or completely the wrong item, or they put an item in their shopping cart, they purchased it, went through everything, and then a couple hours later got notification that it was out of stock. The order had been canceled. I think that happens fairly regularly. So generally speaking, most of my people, they're like, I don't care if it's on Shop Disney. I'm gonna, and those are the people that are buying multiple items. So it doesn't cost them much extra at all to just get it from me. If you're buying buy ears all the time, and I always feel kind of bad when people just buy a pair of ears. They're paying $34.99 is usually the price for ears, and then tax, and then it's a $5 shopper fee for a single item for me, and then shipping. So pretty quickly, usually a single pair of ears is going to be about $50 just for me to send it to them. So I just feel kind of bad about that.
I mean, again, there are, like I said, I didn't get to the park until I was 30 years old. My sister didn't get to a park until she was 34. That was her very first time at a park ever. So I mean, I can understand if you're in a situation where it's just not looking like you'll ever get out there, but you still want to have that Disney magic in your home, it is worth it to people. Right. I should point out to our listeners, there is a merchandise. I don't know exactly what the title of it is, but there is a merchandising number for Disney, because again, when I was going through trying to find the helmet, my aunt directed me to this number. She said, oh, if you call them, they'll be able to get that for you. Unfortunately, no, that number only works for Shop Disney items. It's not park exclusive items. Just, again, it's only what you can get on Shop Disney. So again, that's why people like you, the Disney shoppers, are really valuable. And again, as much as Disney, tries to quote unquote crack down on it, it's like, okay, well, but you're not making these items available, and there is a market out there. So people are going to do what they need to do.
Yeah. Well, And to that point, with regards to, for your listeners, if they're ever trip and they see an item that they really want to have and it's not in their size, or they had heard that it was available somewhere on property, you can ask cast members in the stores and they can go in the system, type it in. My experience with that has been kind of hit or miss, so sometimes it is a wild goose chase because their inventory system. I actually was a travel agent specializing in Disney for a hot minute, and kudos to do that because it was ridiculously stressful. I very quickly realized that it was not going to be fun for me. I was going to get to where I didn't want anything to do with Disney if I had it. It's just, it's a lot. It's very stressful. So I didn't want to do that. But in the short amount of time that I did, oh my gosh, the Disney tech is just, it's so bad. And you think that it should be the best in the world.
It definitely needs to be upgraded for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, my experience when I have talked to cast members about availability in other parks or in other shops, every now and then it's correct, but more often than not, it's not. So unfortunately, that's, I see people post about that. Oh, you can just ask a cast member and they'll tell you exactly where it's located. I also have heard people, guests are like, and unfortunately, usually they're giving the cast members a difficult time. They're like, I have been to 3 different locations because I was told that they were over here and I had a cast member check here, and their inventory is kind of funny. So you just
and again, with my own, the helmet that I had wanted, we were in Hollywood Studios, and yeah, there's shops all around, but there are attraction specific shops. So I had asked cast members, I said, oh, this is what I'm looking for. Where do I get it? I said, actually, that's the only place in the entire park where you can get that. So again, being in a scooter with a broken ankle, it's a long day, you're with it would be one thing if I was by myself, but you've got, I want to see this attraction and I want to get to this show. So it wasn't feasible for me to go back and grab it. And then, like I said, having to figure out how to get it home on the flight and all that. So I took a chance that maybe the merchandising number would work out for me. Maybe my relatives would work out for me. And then thankfully, like I said, Jessica led me to you. But also I had heard, I don't know if you've been to Walt Disneyland out in California, but coworkers of mine had gone there for their honeymoon. They're big, huge Disney people. They've gone to Walt Disney World a million times, but they said, let's go out, treat ourselves, go out to California, check out, the other park. We'd never been here before. And they had said getting items shipped home was, I wouldn't say it was difficult, but apparently it's just not something that's done as frequently in Walt Disneyland, just because they're so used to locals being there. It's a lot of the majority are just locals or people from that state going out there. So the idea of shipping it out to another state, I guess, is very foreign to them. Whereas we're in Florida, they handle it very well. So again, these are all things when you're trying to plan a trip, especially if it's your first time, to kind of consider, because it's overwhelming. They have everything under the sun for everything, everybody, every park, every character. There's merch. And then just the logistics of getting it home is another fact. I mean, I had my friend Abby from Comic-Con. They went out to, I think it was D23. And then they went to the park, they got a lightsaber, and we're like, oh, we have to figure out how to get this home from California back to Boston. So yeah, those kinds of things can be pretty harrowing. And again, having someone like you is just a great resource.
I always tell people I'll tell guests in the park, and you'll know because you have this experience. And I know it's one thing after another that you don't want to carry the item all day. You don't want to take it back to a locker. But I'll tell people that are kind of hemming and hawing. They're like, oh, I really want this, or my child really wants this, but we'll get it later. We'll get it at the end of our trip. We'll get it at the end of the day. And I will usually be like, oh, I'm here weekly and I do a lot of shopping. And if you really want that, go ahead and grab it, because you might not find it. If they have it in your size, grab it. Or I'll also hear, well, we're going to get that the last day of our trip. We're going to go to World of Disney at Disney Springs, and they have everything there. They do not have everything there. I think probably 25-30% of my, friends that shop with me are people that did exactly that. We can get those items at Disney Springs on our last day. We don't have to worry about it until then. And then they're messaging me, hey, I literally have people that will be in the airport and they're like, we just left Disney like 2 hours ago. We're at the airport and we really have to have these items. Can you pick them up? So, hot tip: if you see the item, grab it, find a way, put it in a locker, do something. Are they ever going to bring the resort transport of items back? I don't know. I mean, I know I spent a ton of money when I'd go on vacation and I could buy something in a store and they would just ship it to my resort. I spent a ton of money. I've heard they're not going to bring it back. I don't know if that's a lack of cast members, employee, just kind of situation. But I feel like it probably made them, I feel like they're losing some money and not making it more doable. I don't see people through the parks with bags of merchandise. So I don't know. It's an interesting.
Well, and you had mentioned the Disney warehouses and, the secret, I don't know what you would call them, because I know there are like these like secret exclusive Disney shops that only certain people can have access to, or cast members can have access to. So clearly they do get stuck with some inventory. So again, I don't know why they frown upon a Disney shopper. If it's putting money in your hands, it's taking inventory off your shelves. I would think it's a good thing all around, and it's just continued advertising for the park and for the brand. But I don't know. But again, I agree with you about the eBay shoppers who kind of take advantage and will up the prices and things of that nature.
Or, the marathons, the Disney marathons. So I'm seeing you in person for your listeners. They won't see you in person, but you have you have race medals and stuff in the back there. So, that's huge. And my mom and I went to, I guess, the first marathon, expo, when I was newly shopping. I was like, well, I'll go check this out. I had people ask about it, hey, could you pick these items up? And at that point I was like, well, sure, I can try. And first off, it's chaos over there at Wide World. Okay. We've done that. And I think all of the items that people wanted were sold out. And I was astounded that it was the opening day. Things were sold through. And I want to say that it was that race that one of the, I guess, kind of the biggest shoppers, personal shoppers. She had a huge Facebook, social media following. I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of people on her page.
Wow.
She did get in trouble with Disney. Enough people complained because literally she went in, bought tons of marathon, race specific items, tons. I mean, bags, and then had them right outside the building and was laying them all on the walls and like invoicing her people there. So she, in front of everybody, was like, here, I just went in and I bought 40 of these items that are just for races. And so enough people did complain, because then these poor people have paid to be in the race. They're there for that particular event. The items are limited. That stuff they should absolutely have available online, like every other race that you can, if you've, when you pay to participate, you should have the opportunity to buy the merch.
You can't shop while you're racing through the park.
But that stuff, I won't shop. And I had people that will message me, hey, can you get this? I love this Spirit jersey. It's so cute. I love all the princesses and the princess marathon. And I'm like, and they'll even tell me sometimes, well, I'm doing the virtual race. I'm like, I get it. I do, but I just won't. That to me is a big no-no. Like
but you're right. They should have some type of like separate exclusive site for that, for the people that, because like you said, if they've paid the money either virtually or in person, then give them a separate link to go shopping for those limited items. Because you're right. It's not fair that they should have to miss out when they've done the race themselves. Yeah.
Very limited release items. I'm like, nope, that is for those people that are there for that event. I don't touch it.
That's great. That's really great though. Well, we're getting towards the end here. So you touched on the Enchanted Tiki Room, which I also love. But what are some of your other favorite rides, and what's your favorite park?
It kind of changes from visit to visit. The kid, it's always Magic Kingdom, right? We're actually not big, huge Magic Kingdom fans these days. I have to bribe my husband to go into Magic Kingdom. We have to go over to Steakhouse 71 at the Contemporary first and get some cocktails, and then Kingdom. So probably Epcot. I think Epcot is probably my favorite park. During the day anyway. I think Hollywood Studios is hands down our favorite holiday nighttime park. I love the decorations. It's all the kind of retro stuff and shit stuff over there. I love Animal Kingdom when I'm not shopping. when we were moving here, I said, I want to be able to go to Animal Kingdom and just, get a coffee, get a snack, and just go walk the trails. And of course, now it's very crowded most of the time, so that's not as good. I actually worked at a zoo way back when too, so I'm like, I want to experience it without tons of people. So I love Animal Kingdom on rainy days when it's not too crowded. It's
That's still one of the only parks I haven't been to yet, and it's on the list. We'll get there.
Park. They say it's the hottest park because of all the foliage, I guess. You have lots of shade, but it's just so humid over there. It's a good go and just go when you're in the mode of, I can kind of relax. You know what I mean? Like go with the flow, go check out. People are always just trying to get to the attractions instead of doing the animal trails. Cause it's when you can go and really pay attention to the details, it's an amazing park. Joe Rohde was the lead Imagineer for that park. And it's pretty incredible when you start looking at the details. So yeah, but Epcot is pretty much my favorite. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. I love Living with the Land. It's probably my favorite attraction. I think it's nostalgic to me. It's one of the, original. It's changed names, but it's basically one of the original Epcot attractions, and there are very few. Spaceship Earth, we say it's our date day attraction. My husband gets very upset if I go on Spaceship Earth with anybody except for him. And then I'm not really a big thrill ride person anymore. I have motion sickness stuff now. I never did when I was.
Yep.
I do. So I've got to be careful with that. But I'd say Pirates of the Caribbean it's a classic. It's
fun.
It's better at Disneyland. I did do my first visit ever to Disneyland last October, beginning of October, end of September, beginning of October. And I'll give it to them. There are some of their attractions are a little bit longer. They're more detailed. They're awesome. Food's huge for us at the parks. So my husband goes for the food and the drinks. We're kind of big foodies, and people will be like, oh, they have terrible food in the parks. I'm like, well, where did you go? I mean, if you just like the theme park, you food, then yeah. But I mean, they have some top chefs over there and have amazing food. So, and they have great lounges too, There's lots of bars, and they're very well themed. Now I think a favorite lounge for us is up at Space 220 at Epcot. Also, hot tip, if you're just going to, it's really difficult to get a reservation at Space 220, but they have 10 bar seats. And if you go to the restaurant, if you go to the check-in, before you go up into space, if you go to the check-in on planet Earth, they have 10 bar spots, and you can tell them, I'm just trying to get a spot at the bar. If you tell them at the lounge, that's usually not available, but they have 10 spots at the bar. And we've been very lucky. I think the most we ever had to wait was maybe like half an hour to then go up. And they have the full lounge menu up there, so you can get real food, and their drinks are fun, and all of their cast member bartenders are fantastic. They are mixologists. They're great up there. And food wise, restaurant wise, we tend to like a lot of the resort restaurants where we have adult children. So I love seeing all the kids and having fun, and it's Disney, and that's fantastic. But I usually steer clear of the signature dining restaurants in a park because they're still going to be kind of loud and boisterous. I'm like, do I want to spend $60 or no for an on? I want the ambiance too. So Flying Fish over at the boardwalk is probably our current favorite restaurant. I'm trying to think in the parks. I don't know. It's kind of hit or miss in the parks. I don't. But yeah, I've gotten to where I really try to. I'm so lucky to be able to do this. Like I absolutely realize that. And some days I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to get this processing done and have a couple of days off of not doing Disney stuff. But the vast majority of the time, it's so much fun. I've gotten to meet so many people. I've gotten to meet cast members. I see cast members all the time that, they kind of recognize me now. They know we're there. They know we're locals. So that's a lot of fun to interact with the cast members. That's like the best thing at the parks anyway. I always tell people, engage with the cast members. Like they have stories to tell. Most of them really want to talk to you. One of my friends who's been shopping with me for a while now, her daughter is actually, I think, on her way to do the college program, like today. I think tomorrow is her day. So hopefully I will I'll definitely get to see Anna in person. I've given her my cell phone number in case she needs anything, because her parents are states away. But yeah, I'm so lucky to do it. I'm thrilled to do it. It can be a lot sometimes, but a lot of fun. What? And I try to make myself every visit, do something that's really for fun, take a moment to just enjoy being there. Cause there were a couple of trips where we'd go into Magic Kingdom and I'd go to the Emporium, I'd run out and leave. And I'd be like, I didn't even see the castle. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, right.
So like, okay, we saw it. We did something that was fun and then off we go.
Well, not to add to that, but if anyone is interested after hearing what you've got to say and wants to take a look at what you're offering, how can they find you on social media?
On Facebook, it's just Terrific Theme Park Shopper. It's all one word. Theme Park Shopper. That's the easiest way to get me. You can send it. There's of course, a little click on box to message. I take all of my orders, official order or pickup requests through Messenger. I know a lot of people just do it and post comments. That drives me crazy. I'm like,
that's so wild to me. Yeah.
I can't look at every single picture that I posted last week and be like, did you comment on it? And also I did that a little bit in the beginning and I found that I had lots of impulse.
Yeah,
people,
for sure.
Oh, I love that. I want it. Or they were just saying, I want it, but they didn't actually want to buy it, that kind of a thing. So I post everything through Messenger. Yeah, so Terrific Theme Park Shopper. I think I'm the only one out there. Hopefully at this point. Yeah.
Well, like I said, I love following you just not even just for shopping, but just to see the creative things that Disney are constantly churning out. And it's like, God, like how many versions of a mug can you do? And they can, and they've figured it out. I mean, I remember at Christmas time, they had that Donald Duck Christmas tree.
Oh yeah. It's adorable. The sipper.
Yeah. Super cute. But you had at one point you had even said there was like a Mickey Mouse in like a tin soldier kind of outfit for Christmas. And you were like, listen, gang, this thing is huge and it's hard to find. So I'm not picking them up.
There were some things that I would jump through hoops to get stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to hate myself when I have to package these things. So I'm not going to go crazy. That's kind of been a big one. It's
well, and it's okay to set those boundaries. You're doing everybody a service and sometimes, like you said, you've been doing it long enough now that you understand, what works and what might be an issue. So there's nothing wrong with that. But Erin, I do want to thank you so much for sitting down with us and talking to us about this experience, because I just think it's super unique. You seem to be doing it very well with such grace, and I just hope it continues to be fun for you. So I just again want to thank you for joining us, and you guys check out Terrific Disney Theme Park Shopper? Okay.
Yes, Terrific Theme Park Shopper. I do Universal.
You do? Oh my gosh, we didn't even talk about Universal.
I don't do it a whole lot. I just don't get a ton of requests over there. It doesn't have such a cult following, I guess, as Disney. I think the biggest thing with Universal is most of their IPs, they have so much amazing merchandise. It's available in many different places, Sometimes the Harry Potter stuff, the Wizarding World, that gets kind of popular sometimes. Jurassic Park's, what was it, 40th anniversary? Was it 40th? 30th?
Oh my gosh.
Because I know it.
Yeah, I know they did the 30th, the re-release.
Yeah, maybe it was a 30th.
Yeah.
But that was a popular one too. I had people that were shopping. So yeah, I do Universal. It's sometimes something fun to do that's different. My mom doesn't shop there with me. She has to wait in City Walk while I go shop.
It's a lot of walking. Universal is a lot of walking.
It
comparatively, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, again, you guys, so it's Terrific Theme Park Shopper on Facebook. Just go and just to check out what's available. If you're planning a trip to Disney and maybe just check out her page and start thinking about the things you might want to pick up yourself. And at that point, plan, logistically, how many bags can you bring? How many empty bags? How what kind of shipping you're going to need to handle. But again, Erin, thank you so much for joining us.
No, happy to join you and meet you face to face.
Yes, face to face. Finally. Well, you guys, this was Try Not to Curse. Thank you again for joining us, and we will catch you next time.